Welcome back to the Rocco and Ryan MMA Show. Today is episode number 13, and of course we have another UFC card to get to and break down going down this Saturday. UFC Vegas 8, headlined by Anthony Smith and Aleksander Rakic. But first, Rocco, we're going to dive into last weekend's card, headlined by Frankie Edgar and Pedro Munhoz. And there's a lot of controversy in that main event as to how people scored the card. So first, I just want to start with your thoughts on that, and do you think they got it right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a close fight. You know, it was a competitive fight, and Pedro just fights at a certain style that it does make it hard to judge because he's taking a lot of shots, and it was kind of more like, do you pay dividends to the aggression or do you pay it to the cleanness that was being fought? So it's kind of like, it was a hard fight to judge, but I did think that Pedro did enough to win with his aggressiveness, and I just thought he was landing the harder strikes. Now, it was an interesting fight. You know what I mean? It's an interesting fight, hard fought. It's always tough, man. It's just that type of fight is just a hard one to judge, but it's extremely exciting. I mean, I don't know exactly. I don't think anyone won or lost that night. You know, in my eyes, I thought it was a win-win for both guys. Obviously, Frankie showing that he could fight at 135, and he looked good. He really did. He looked like a killer, you know what I mean? But he looked like he could compete with the best. You know, he could compete with the top dogs, and there's a lot of interesting matchups now out there in the future.
Yeah, you said leading up to this fight that you felt this could be one of the best fights of the year. Did it live up to your expectations?
I didn't think it was the best fight of the year, you know, but I did think that it was exciting. It was more of a you had an aggressor versus a skill set, you know, where Frankie knew you had to fight smart, and he fought a smart fight, you know, and technically, you know, he fought a high level there. Where Pedro's just, I'm telling you, man, he's just a straightforward workhorse, great gas tank, throws hard. I mean, he got taken down a few times, but popped up instantly. And it was an impressive showing on both sides, and it was definitely a very exciting main event. Shit, they want to run it back. I'd love to see it.
Well, that was what I was going to ask next is, do you feel like maybe a rematch is in order? I mean, even if it's not an immediate rematch, maybe 2 or 3 down the line, I mean, make these two get in there again and maybe get a definitive winner.
Yeah, I mean, it's always weird that with how it plays out, you know what I mean? It just depends on. I think Frankie's making one more run, you know? I think that Frankie's going to make one more run, and if it doesn't work, he's gonna bow out, you know? That's how I feel after hearing him talk a little bit, you know, in interviews, and when he feels like he can't compete at the level he holds himself to. I think he holds himself at a championship level, and that's the only reason why he's moved down in weight, and that's why I fully expect when he thinks that title chances are gone that he's going to bow out.
Okay. Well, who would make sense for him next then? Like, I mean, he got this win. It was very close, split decision. But who would you like to see him lock horns with next?
Whew. I think that you run it with the, you know, it depends on how fast he wants to turn around. You know what I mean? It kind of just depends on if he's wanting to sit around. I mean, I think that he deserves a number one contender fight. I think he's put his dues in, and obviously, I truly feel that Pedro could beat anyone on any given day. He gave a heck of a fight to Aljo, you know, that's fighting for the title next, and that was a competitive fight that, you know, and so I do think that Frankie has earned a number one contender fight. So he either fights the loser of the title fight, or he fights for the number one contender. So they set up, you know, for whoever fights for the title next.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Frankie fight Jose Aldo a couple of times at a higher weight class?
Yeah, they both fought at 145 twice, right? So,
right.
Very competitive both times. Very competitive fights. And Aldo has turned into a different type of fighter now as well. So that part would be interesting. But I don't have a lot of enthusiasm to see it personally. On a personal level, I don't. But I mean, it's tough because who do you put him against? He's not going to fight. I can't think of his name right now. They're teammates for years, but he's down at America top team now.
I know who you're talking about. I can see his face. I'm blanking right now.
I think Dominic Cruz is the answer. That's the fight. That's the fight I want to see. That's the fight that I think is the make is Frankie versus Dominic Cruz.
Okay. Yeah, I can get down with that. I wouldn't be mad if the UFC decided to put him with Aldo at 135. I mean, you never know, weight class to weight class. The fight could be a little bit different. They're both a little bit older. I mean, as mixed martial artists, you guys are always evolving. You never know how a third fight would go.
Another interesting part is where's TJ? TJ's supposed to be coming back here soon, I think, right? I think his suspension is how much longer? I don't know. I guess I don't remember exactly.
It was 2 years initially, right?
I don't know exactly when he got suspended, so that's the question. So, but that would be an interesting mix too, is to see, Frankie versus TJ for the #1 contender fight. I can see that. I think that's a reasonable fight to make.
Does TJ come right back and get a #1 contendership fight? I mean, he was on the sauce. I mean, shouldn't he have to work his way back up?
I mean, it's just proven that I feel like it's not a huge. The UFC doesn't hold that against you. You know what I mean? I feel like that's been proven time and time again. You've seen the drop off of fighters in USADA that are still around. That you're just like, okay, you're obviously not that same fighter that you were like on the sauce. Obviously, you haven't been caught, but it's pretty obvious, And but I don't think the UFC holds that against you as much as it should. You know what I mean? But. So I think that he's going to get a #1 contender fight right away. I mean, even if who determines, the UFC goes off pay-per-view buys, and that's their #1 criteria for putting together title fights. So that would be interesting to see if he doesn't fall right into a title fight right away. That's a possibility as well.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I at the end of the day, I mean, Frankie Edgar is creeping up on 40. I personally don't feel like he's going to win another championship, but to be competitive and keep it close with some of the guys at the top of the division of 135, I think he can do that. We just saw it against Pedro Munhoz, so it'll be interesting to see what the UFC does. Man, how about your boy Mike Rodriguez? Slow Mike coming in big time. I mean, getting a massive finish in a fight that he really needed to win. Really coming off of some losses, big win, back against the wall, and comes out looking great. How impressed were you with him?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was a win that he had to get. I don't even think it was an expectation. You know what I mean? It was I felt like that's what I felt like leading up to the fight and whatnot was that it was an expectation to not just win, to finish, and he delivered. You know what I mean? Like he came out firing and he delivered the goods and put him away. Falling into a co-headliner spot as well. That's about as good of a play out as you can hope for, mostly in the UFC. That's a huge win, and be interesting to see who they put him up against next, because I feel like there's endless options out there for him, and so it's going to be interesting to see exactly where they play there.
How good can Mike be?
Like I said, I've talked to some of his coaches and his management and whatnot, and they think he's got endless potential. They think that it's more of a mental thing with him than anything. It's not physical. So they said that right now. I told you going into that fight that they were saying that he looked better than they've ever seen him, mentally and physically. He put on some weight because I guess he was walking around pretty close to on weight all the time. And they said he got up to 245, 250, and so when COVID hit and he started lifting like crazy. So I think that mentally he's in the right spot. So I think that endless potential, how fighting is, you just really never know. But it sounds like it's more of a mental thing than a physical.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got Tyson in his corner. He's got a great team around him. So I'm sure the future will be bright for Mr. Mike Rodriguez. Another guy that just keeps on impressing me. I've interviewed him a handful of times already. He got his start at Contender Series, and boom, here he is now. He's undefeated inside of the octagon. It's Joe Solecki, man. Joe Solecki finishes Austin Hubbard, RNC, in the very first round. I mean, Austin Hubbard trains at one of the best gyms in the world out there at Elevation, and I mean he made Max Roshkov quit on the stool, right? I mean Roshkov was a huge prospect. So I mean Hubbard's legit, man, and Solecki is so slick. I'm really, really impressed with this kid, and I think that I think that he could be cracking the top 15, top 10, and really starting to make a name for himself moving forward. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that he looked good. I thought that, like you said, I thought he was composed, calm, and smooth. Like you said, it didn't seem, nothing seemed forced. It didn't seem like a overexertion of energy. But I mean, I need to see a major step up in competition before I would say any of that. I think that Hubbard was good, but like you said, I thought that, what's his name, Max put on the stool, but he won that first round, and the guy took it on a couple days' notice. So I don't know how good Hubbard is. I mean, I thought that he was decent going into the fight, but I don't think he was on the verge of top 15 at all. I needed to see a little more, but like I said, I think that anytime you're that calm and collected inside the cage and well-rounded, I mean, he's got a skill set that was well-rounded. Seems like he's got solid striking with great grappling, and that's going to take you far. No matter where you're at, you're going to be competitive in all fights.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really, really excited about this kid's future. Now, I feel like if we were in the same room right now as Shanna Dobson, we would both deserve to be like stalked and slapped, right? Like I think after the last show, and we were talking about how there's the giant elephant in the room, and maybe she should be cut. I mean, what is her record? Like, I would let her stalk and slap me. I think I would deserve it. And here she goes out and gets a huge win, finishing Agapova, man, quick, and really saving maybe her job. I mean, I'm not sure what her contractual situation is right now, but I mean, huge win, and proves that she deserves to be, I guess, in that echelon of fighters. What did you think of it?
Well, I'm hoping that, someday we're in Vegas together and we run into her, because I'm going to hold you to that Stockton slap.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna hold your word to that. But honestly, like you said, I mean, I would have bet the house against her. You know what I mean? Not with those odds. I would have bet the house at those odds. Just not enough to win. And huge win. But I do think that shows. Again, it's the. I don't want to call it a problem, or it's not a problem, I guess. It's just like, I feel like women's MMA has a major drop off outside the top 10, top 5. Okay, I truly feel like this. I felt like this for a long time, that there's a major drop off of skill after the top 10, top 5. And what I mean is that I feel like there's that 10 to 100 range that can get in there and they can all be competitive fights. And then you have those top 5 that would absolutely destroy every single one of them. Like it would be not even a close fight, not even competitive. And you're starting to see it change a little bit more, where I feel like there's a little bit more depth coming in, but there's still not a lot of depth in the women's division, where you have these girls that are 3-4 beating some girl that's 9-1 or 10-1 or whatever. But obviously, I don't know what her game plan was coming into the fight. But I would imagine, I know that she's on an American Top Team, that was not the game plan coming into the fight, and that nerves played a big factor going in there. And I've heard Dobson talk a little bit about, it had nothing to do with her gassing or whatnot. Well, that's just a delusional take. It's not realistic. Like, you did your job, you won. Congratulations. You got another $50,000, well deserved as well, with being that big of an underdog and finishing the fight the way you did. It was an impressive win. Mostly, but I just thought that it was just a lack of composure on the other side, more so than Dobson's skill set.
Okay. Well, I mean, either way, she got the W, and maybe saved her job in the UFC here moving forward. So big win for her. And to follow up on what we were talking about earlier about the Stockton slap and Vegas and all of that, look, if it's in Vegas, and as long as I have a couple of beers in me, Rocco, I'll be good. Just not sober. I'm not gonna do it sober, but if we run into her, just give me a couple of tall boys and I'll be fine. All right, now 170-pound matchup. Daniel Rodriguez finishes Dwight Grant early. I mean, this is your weight class. I'm just gonna let you take it from here. How impressed were you?
Wild fight, man. Huh? Like I was like kind of shocked at these guys coming out guns blazing right away. Where you think that Grant's finishing the fight, the ref should be jumping. It was a weird night of the reffing where one side's hurt and they're letting them give them all this time to survive, and the other side gets hurt for a second and they jump in. It was just like, whoa, what's going on? Just because you had this flip flop of reffing. But that doesn't take anything. I did think that Grant was out. I thought that he was hurting, and I didn't know if he'd come back from that. So I don't blame the stoppage. It's this weird chain of events where Grant hurt him really bad. I still need, again, I'm at that point of where I need to see a little more of, like, except a win over Tim Means, like Rodriguez has won, is very impressive, because Tim Means is that guy, I feel like, is another guy that's very close to that gatekeeper of that top 15, and is very competitive, could be very competitive with all top 15 fighters. Mm-hmm. So to put him away and then go on the tier that he's been on is very impressive, and he seems big. Seems big. Looks like he just barely touched him with his right hand, and he's hurt and wobbling all over the place. So he's got a skill set that you can't teach, that isn't teachable, and that's obviously he has a very hard right hand and isn't scared to pull the trigger. And I think that he can compete with the top guys in the world, but I still think that he's on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm. If you were fighting Rodriguez, what would your game plan be going into the fight?
My game plan's the same every fight. It's always try to strike, and if I feel like I'm losing the striking, grapple. It's kind of the same game plan I've always had. And I think that I just have mostly aggressive guys like that. I have a very good skill set with keeping range and just loading up my right hand. And I think he's southpaw, right? So I think that I have a very good right hand to bring down the pipe, and I think that I'm a little bit better than him. I truly do. I think he's definitely bigger than me. I mean, that's the one thing that I'd have to work with it, but I feel like I always have to work with that as a size difference, mostly after fighting Neil Magny. I mean, you're not going to fight many bigger 70-pounders than that. So, I mean, it's a tough fight. That's a fight that I think that also makes sense too, is that's a fight where I think we're both kind of right now sitting around the same spot on the outside looking in, and that would be an interesting fight for me to come back to. Obviously, mostly after feeling like I won my last fight. So.
Yeah, well, again, that very interesting fight for you to come back to. So I'm glad to hear you say that. Before we dive into this Saturday's card, and I do want to talk about your health and your progress that you're making, I want to ask your opinion on a couple of other welterweights that we saw most recently on Contender Series. The Koski brothers just finished speaking with Orion, who had a very impressive win over a previously unbeaten fighter at Contender Series. Then his brother, Lewis, goes in and just runs right through his opponent in the first round. They're both in the UFC now. They're both going to stay at 170 for the time being. What's your take on these two? Because they look pretty darn good to me.
Okay, so this is the issue that I'm having right now, okay? Is I know that coronavirus is changing the game of MMA and the UFC right now, is that I feel like there's a lot of guys getting in the UFC that don't belong in the UFC. I truly feel like that. I feel like it's more of it's good stories, you know what I mean? Because you're getting a lot of these local guys that with good stories that are getting in, and they're getting these guys that you're getting a lot of guys in that I don't think they're quite ready for the UFC. I do think that the younger brother is ready for the UFC. I don't think the older brother was. I truly feel like that. But you're also in a day and age now where I'm like, you're seeing that the entry level guys. I came in, my first fight was Rashid Magomedov. Okay, you come in entry level nowadays, you're not fighting a guy like Rashid Magomedov. You know what I mean? You come in, you're not fighting Leonardo Santos. Okay, you come in, you're not fighting a guy like Beneil Dariush. These are the guys when I come in. These are my first 3 or 4 fights that I had inside the UFC. I feel like there's a major drop off now at entry level in the UFC. And that's where I'm having a hard time truly saying a true feeling, but it's a great story, you know what I mean? And the Contender Series is about having a good story and about finishing. And the comeback that he had to come back and dominate that second and third round the way he did with the heart and the finish like that was very impressive. and then to have your brother come in and absolutely destroy a guy that has a previous win on the Contender Series was very impressive. And I stand by. I think that the younger brother should go down to 155, and I think that he belongs in the UFC, and I think he's very deserving. And I don't quite see the older brother outside of the story being quite ready to make a real run. I feel like there's no point in being in the UFC if you can't make a run in the UFC. That's my point. Is just to get to the UFC never was a goal of mine, or was never anything that I ever set out to do in my life. Was never to be like, hey, I want to get here. No, I've always wanted to be the best, and I feel like if the UFC was like, no, you have the best fighters in the world, and what that means to me is that you can make, hey, you're good enough to be the champion. And I feel like if you don't have a skill set that can really make you be a champion, I don't believe that you belong in the UFC.
All right, well, fair enough. I mean, we're going to find out if they're ready to be in the UFC here moving forward, because I think they're both hungry to get their debut fight out of the way here very, very soon. And you're right about the younger brother dropping down to lightweight eventually. That's what the plan is eventually, or at least that's what Orion told me earlier today. But I'm excited to see him, and there's always, there's just a lot more life getting to every division now. Welterweight, lightweight, everywhere you look, the UFC is just signing people left and right. So it's exciting times. Now, before we dive into, again, this card tomorrow night, tell me what is going on with you. I understand that you're feeling a little bit better and you've been making some progress. So I know you got a lot of people out there that support you that would love to hear how you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm still in pain, but I've been doing PT 3 times a week, and today was the best day I've had, since the injury. I finally have broken a sweat, during the PT, so that means I'm able to work hard enough to do that. So that was very exciting news to me. And next Thursday, I'm able to get the PICC line out, out of my arm finally, and then I can actually start easing into training. I probably won't be able to grapple for another 4 to 6 weeks, but it sounds like I'll be able to start hitting pads a little bit. I just got cleared where I can start biking every day about 45 minutes, and so it's still slow progression, but I'm moving forward. I'm excited. I haven't been actually this happy in a long time. I definitely have been going through a mild depression with being on the sidelines. You come off a loss, and then you come off. You don't know exactly where you're at in your contract negotiations, and then guess what? You can't train. You're injured. You're not able to do what you love to do, and the only thing to take your mind off of it is to actually stay active and get back to work. And that's one thing I'm not able to do right now. So to have some progression and to have so close to actually being able to do stuff again is very exciting. And like I said, today was a huge day. I worked about 2 hours straight today, and my PT guy said, he's like, listen, you're gonna be sore tonight and tomorrow, so make sure you're icing like crazy. But that excites me. I haven't been sore for a long time. I haven't been tired for a long time, so I'm happy and I'm ready to get back to work.
That's fantastic. Well, great news, and obviously we have so many people that support you and are excited to see you back. So fantastic to hear that you're on the right track and you're feeling a lot better. And look, we can all understand the depression. I mean, you're a Bears fan. I mean, that's got to be really, really hard to deal with, on a day-to-day basis.
Hey, I think that you should just hold the horses till the end of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. How good do you think you guys are going to be?
Oh, no, we're not going to be that very good. Right? But I just think that your Patriots are going to be, it's going to be a major drop off in past years.
I get it. I understand. I mean, letting Tom Brady go and just, yeah. I digress. You're right.
It's got to be comfortable on those, brand new leather couches all the time. Probably got state of the art everything. It's just going to be a rough year. When you're, finally for once, you're going to see a little bit of turmoil on the field. So.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be paying probably more attention to my fantasy football team than I am to the actual end result of the Pats games. But it is what it is. I can't complain because they've been good for so long. All right, let's dive into this card. This is a really good card. I mean, this main event between Anthony Smith and Aleksander Rakic, I mean, that's a great fight. I'm really looking forward to it. I know you've had some thoughts about Anthony Smith in the past. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about that. Co-main event, you got Robbie Lawler and Neil Magny. I mean, you know Magny very well, and you know Lawler pretty well too. I mean, this is your weight class here. But let's start it off with Ankalaev and Kutsaleva. This is a light heavyweight bout, and they fought each other before. It ended rather controversially. Ankalaev getting the win. This was in February, right before the pandemic hit. This is an interesting one, and I think they're both coming in pissed off, to be frank, and really wanting to settle the score as to who deserves to win this one. I think their skill sets are pretty comparable, but I want to have you start here and tell me what you think.
Yeah, I remember when I first watched the fight, I was like, I did think it was a bad stoppage, but I was like, oh no, Kucherov wasn't faking. You know what I mean? I was like, no, he wasn't faking. But then they showed it in slow motion. They showed all the shots, and it, when you watch it live, boom, you think that everything's landing clean. But then you watch it in slow motion, and I'm not even sure. I think 1 or 2 strikes landed out of like the 15 that I'm not going to even attempt the name. You know what I mean? I'm not going to even attempt it. No offense. Like, he's a phenomenal fighter. But Kucherov, I thought he was seriously hurt. But after watching it in slow motion, I'm like, man, this guy really was faking. And it sucks to like think that he played that big of a game in there that cost him the fight. You know, that cost money, cost time, and cost momentum, and there's a lot of things that was a big setback. But man, he's mean. You know, he is mean. I think he's really is an angry, crazy. He's got some screws loose, but it's awesome. Very exciting fighters. But his opponent now, okay, this guy's actually a goddamn killer. Okay, I'm watching this guy fight like he could do it all. This guy is actually a freak. Outside of his one loss, that was one of the biggest upsets I've seen with a last-second submission, you know. And outside that, though, man, this guy has looked absolutely untouchable in there. And I really do think that he's just too good. I think he's on a whole other level, and this guy might be the future of the division.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I would really like to see Kutsaleva come in and put on a great performance, and maybe even get a win. But I mean, Ankalaev is 13-1. He is the real deal. He's scary, and I think he's really going to come in like I was saying earlier. I think both of these guys are going to come in and look to put a stamp on it, and I think Ankalaev really is going to come in and have his best performance here. So I think we're both in agreement. We're going with him.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All right. Now this next matchup is a featherweight bout between Ricardo Lamas, a veteran. He's 19-8, against a new fighter, Bill Algeo. This will be making his UFC debut. I mean, hey, welcome to the UFC. You get to fight Ricardo Lamas. Congratulations. You know, Algeo, he's had some good wins. He beat Tim Dooling, which I know him pretty well. He's a good fighter, you know, but he's never fought anyone at the level of Lamas. And Lamas' last few fights, man, I mean, look who he's lost to. Like, he's lost to Calvin Kattar, you know, Mirsad Bektik, Josh Emmett, you know, like he's only losing to the best in the division, you know, so I can't imagine Algeo coming in here, you know, and getting a win. I think it would be a huge upset if he does. I think Lamas really starts to turn the train around a little bit here and gets a big win. I'm not sure how much left he has in the tank as far as making a run, but I do think he's good enough to beat Bill Algeo.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. Like you said, you know, that's a huge task to be your UFC debut. I mean, but he does have some good things going for him, obviously, with Ricardo. I mean, he's just coming off Calvin's fight with a broken jaw, you know, and I know he's had a few fights fall through, so I'm assuming he's healthy. But, you know, he's getting multiple fight changes as well, and date changes. So you don't know exactly how his training is going. And really, I mean, I think it's a dream scenario. I mean, honestly, coming to the UFC for your first fight, I don't think you can get a better fight. You know what I mean? I think that you come in and you really have only anything to gain. I think that, okay, I don't think the UFC is going to hold anything against you if you lose to Ricardo Lamas. I think you're still going to get probably the same fight that you would come in if you beat just a newbie in the UFC. You know, I mean, I think that you lose to Ricardo, you're still going to fight a guy that is very new in the UFC, and that, you know, now you really know where you're at, what you have to work on, and where your standing is inside the UFC. And goddamn, if you win that fight, you made a huge jump, and you really just put yourself on the map. But I think it's a dream scenario.
Yeah,
but I obviously think that it's a it's a hill, it's a mountain to climb, and that's why I definitely think that Ricardo still has enough in the tank to win this fight.
Right. Yeah. A dream scenario, but one that won't come to fruition. It's a tough fight. Yeah, for Algio. Yeah.
Wait, after last week with that Jones upset, okay, I don't know if you watched that first fight of the night with Trevor Jones, but
yeah,
was absolutely getting killed. You know what I mean? Was absolutely getting killed, and all it takes. That's why the sport is such a beautiful sport and a scary sport all at the same time. Is that it takes one punch to change a fight. You know, it takes one punch. You could be the best fighter in the world, but all it takes is one punch.
So what you're saying is if you and me locked horns and we were going at it, all it could take is one punch. I could land a lucky punch and you out.
If I overlook you and we have MMA gloves on, this is why I think this is the biggest difference with boxing and MMA. Is that this is why I think that people are starting to realize how beautiful the sport of MMA is that there's not a lot of upsets like that in boxing. There's not upsets like that in boxing because usually it's like just, no, the better fighter is going to win. But in MMA, it's like, it's literally a couple small little details. And if you get complacent for 1/2 a second in there, the fight is over. It's not like boxing where, okay, you get complacent, you take one big shot, and you get your 10 seconds. No, you take one big shot, the fight's over.
Yeah, especially at those higher weight classes where a lot of these guys and girls carry so much power. Those 4-ounce gloves don't really do a whole lot. So you catch someone on the butt and you're 100% right. There's a massive difference between MMA and boxing. I still don't think I have a chance against you, but, I just threw it out there for shits and giggles. All right, we'll move on to this next bout, 125-pound matchup. I really don't know a whole lot about Ji Yeon Kim. She's 9-2-2. I know a little bit more about Alexa Grasso. She's 11-3. She hasn't done quite as well recently, but she did beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz, and I really like Kowalkiewicz. I think she's a really talented fighter. Anyone that can beat her is very good. In her last fight, Grasso did lose a majority decision to Carla Esparza. And I don't want to say Esparza is like a gatekeeper, but I don't think she's ever going to win a belt. So that might have shown us just what Grasso's ceiling is. I do think the UFC wants her to win and maybe become a little bit more of a face and a name for the division. And I think that they're putting her against this Kim, who has a good record, as maybe taking a next step. So I do have Grasso winning, but again, I'm going to be totally transparent. I don't know a whole lot about Kim. I do feel like Grasso will have enough to get the W, though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a day that we agree. I think it's a day that we're just agreeing with each other. And like you said, I don't know a lot about Kim, but I do know that I felt like the UFC has gotten behind Grasso a few times now, and so that alone makes me think that they're trying to set her up to succeed in the UFC. And they like her style of fighting. There was a lot of hype on her for a while there, and she's had some setbacks. But I think the UFC still likes her style and really do want to see her win fights and make a run. But and like you said, I think Esparza is a tough fight for any new upcomer because she's so well-rounded, like mentally as well, where she's physically and mentally so strong, where she just knows how to win fights, and it's a hard outing unless you're unless you're not elite fighter. I think that, like you said, I do still feel like she's a gatekeeper to the title because I don't think she's good enough to win the title, and that's the only reason. But I think Grasso is definitely going to win this fight.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. We still have 2 more fights left to pick, so we might have some differing opinions there. Real quick, though, did you see that they added Poirier and Ferguson to the UFC 254, which is on the same card as Gaethje and Khabib and Whitaker and Cannonier? Did you see that?
I heard it beforehand. I heard that was going to make. I think it makes sense.
Oh man,
it makes sense because you want the drama with what they're trying to align is that they want that Ferguson and Khabib fight, and I think that they're trying to get the drama going, and they love drama. Like Khabib says, the big drama show. So it's like that's what I think that they're lining up for, because Dustin's not going to feed into the drama because that's just not the type of fighter he is outside of him and Conor. But I think it's an exciting fight that I would have. Sucks that it's not going to be 5 rounds. I mean, that's a 5-round fight. Mostly both guys are great cardio, and the style they fight, man, I don't know how you don't make that a 5-round fight. But it makes sense to me.
Well, I just wanted to point out just how stacked that card is turning out to be. Wow, it looks like it could be maybe the best card of the year. Those three fights that are on the main card that I just mentioned are insane. I can't wait for it. All right, so co-main event time, welterweight class, Neil Magny and Robbie Lawler. You know what, Rocco, take it from here. I'm just going to let you start with this one because I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm gonna put my feelings aside. I'm gonna put my feelings aside about the fight, and I'm gonna be. I see skill set of high pace, great, ridiculous cardio, and high output. It's a high output fighter, and I think that Robbie is a very explosive fighter, but he has a low output. Okay, he's an exploder. Like, he's a guy that he'll throw a 30 punch combo, but then he'll take off the whole round. Okay, Magny doesn't allow that, and I think that's where Magny gets up on the scorecards, is that it's just this unrelentless pace where the judges are just seeing this high output, and maybe not a lot's landing fully. And Robbie's going to land some hard punches. Robbie's going to land some stuff. He's probably going to mix in a little bit of wrestling because Robbie can wrestle. And it's going to be interesting to see if Magny can get on him early to start wearing on his gas tank, because he's not going to let Robbie rest. I think that the only way that Robbie can rest is to hurt Magny right away and to get him going backwards, which was one of my game plans right away, was to get Magny going backwards. But I think that Neil's going to know his path to victory is high output and staying on Robbie and to make him work the whole fight. I think that he picks up a hard fought win here. I think he picks up a hard fought decision.
Yeah, and we're in agreement again. I do think Neil Magny wins this fight. I will say vintage Robbie Lawler, younger Robbie Lawler would beat Neil Magny. I just don't feel like Robbie Lawler is the best version of himself, clearly. I mean, he's 28 and 14. I mean, he's been having wars for years now. Been fighting since he was 19, I believe. So I just feel like I don't want to say he's a shell of himself, but again, this goes back to our conversation on our last show about fighters fighting past their primes and just sticking around just to fight and everything. Like, at this point, Robbie Lawler has done so much. He's a legend in the sport. Like, I like seeing him fight. I can't wait to tune in and watch him fight, but I wouldn't be upset if he's decided, you know what, I've done enough. I've proved how good of a fighter I am. Now it's time to move on to something else. He's lost 3 in a row. Colby Covington, Ben Askren, RDA. His last win was over Donald Cerrone. Before that, he lost to Tyron Woodley. So, I mean, he's fighting the best of the best, but as you know, too, I mean, Neil Magny is one of the elite fighters in the welterweight division as well, and I do think he's going to get a win here. And hopefully, if he does get this win, you come back, string together a couple wins, maybe that rematch will take place. So we're both in agreement again. 4 picks for the same, and now we have the main event with Anthony Lionheart Smith and Aleksander Rakic. And you've talked about Anthony Smith before. You've had some things to say about him. And I would like you to start with how you envision this fight, because I feel like you had some pretty strong opinions about Anthony Smith previously.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about him that I don't know if other people are getting that vibe. I don't know if it's just me that when he talks, it's just like, man, just shut up shut up and go fight. It's like people love you because you're fighting. You know what I mean? I'm telling you right now, this guy's not a great talker. Okay, that's how I feel. I listen to this guy talk, and everything that comes out of his mouth is, I'm like, this guy's goddamn delusional. I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, he's literally talking like he's some absolute ruthless killer, saying like, he's talking like he walks forward the entire fight, where I'm like, I watch you with John Jones. I mean, I felt like you walked backwards 98% of the fight. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, you talking like you're some like RoboCop that's like just running people down. That's absolutely like just like it's just like that. Those parts that seems highly delusional to me. That I don't know if he's trying to like put these things in his head, so he's going in there and that's how he's mentally trying to prepare himself for his fight, and so that's why he says these things. But it's just the way he talks. It rubs me wrong a little bit. but he's good. He's strong. Like he's big. But I mean, he's 6'4", and I saw him standing next to Rakic, and I was like, geez, I just look like he's like 6'6" or something like that. I don't know if he had high heels on or what was going on there, but did he not look gigantic in the face-off? I was like, whoa, he looks about 2-3 inches taller. And I do think that he's a lot better fighter. I truly believe that. I think that Anthony Smith's only path to victory here is to clip him. And I don't think that he's good enough to do that.
Yeah, man. Geez, I wanted us to have a differing of opinion here, and I borderline wanted to just pick Anthony Smith just because we could have a different pick, but I kind of feel the same way about Rakic. I feel like he's like a new breed. Now, I will say, his right now his record is 12-2. He did lose most recently. It was a controversial split decision to Volkan Ozdemir. Volkan Ozdemir is no joke. He's legit. He's been right in there with the best of the division, and he's got a lot of power. So I don't want to ding him there on that fight, even if he didn't get a finish. I mean, that's a tough opponent. But prior to that, I mean, he finished Jimmy Manuwa. He beat Devin Clark. I mean, Justin Ledet. I mean, he's fought some legit guys. And Anthony Smith, although he is legit, I feel like this could be a changing of the guard or like some new blood into the division, because he most recently, Anthony, lost to Glover, and this is another, a younger up and coming guy who has the size, who has the reach, who has the experience, who is well rounded, and who doesn't make mistakes. I don't think he makes mistakes, and I think the way that Anthony Smith wins a lot of his fights is he capitalizes on someone making a mistake, and then he just finishes them with power shots and volume and whatnot. And I don't think Rakic is going to make a mistake for him to do that. So we're going to be in agreement on this main card, this main fight too. So
entire card.
I don't know that that's ever happened. If you look down the I guess the lineup here, is there a fight that you're very strong on, that you feel, someone should win one way or the other?
No. I mean, I see like the Robbie fight, and I thought you would go at Robbie on that. I truly felt that you would go that way. And obviously, I'm rooting for Magny. I want Magny to win. I think that it looks. I mean, it's easier for me to go to the UFC and be like, hey, look at you, see this guy still beating world champions and whatnot. And like you said, I want my rematch. This guy told me that I won the fight, so I still want my rematch. And I think that, I mean, I wouldn't be okay with it. I truly wouldn't if I felt like I lost a fight. And that I think that I'd still want a rematch at some point if I lost a fight. I mean, I think that Magny would have to lose for me to fight him again. I believe that. I think that he would have to lose, because why would he fight me again if he's winning? So as long as he's winning, I truly agree. Like keep moving up the ladder. But if I start winning a couple and he loses a fight, I want that fight back.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope you get that fight back, and I know a lot of other people feel the same way. So who knows what the future holds? But all in all, it's a good card. I'm not mad that we don't have a differing pick. I think it's it's kind of neat that we're on the same page here for this card. Where are you going to watch it? You staying at home, or are you going out to a buddy's house?
I might go to my buddies, but if it's possible, I'm still just chilling here. I mean, all my buddies want me to drink a little bit, and I don't think I should be drinking right now with my knee. So I've been trying to be on that straight and narrow. You know what I mean? So.
Okay. All right. Are you even allowed to drink with the pick line in?
I mean, I'm not. I mean, honestly, my PT have told me to drink a couple times, or the doctor was like okay with me having a couple of drinks, but. No one. I mean, obviously, I would say in moderation. That would be a not be getting blacked out running around, butt naked like I'd be doing in Vegas. So,
what is your drink of choice?
Probably. Yeah, I do rum and coke, or I go with those Truly lemonades, or a little sparkling. I love sparkling water. So I mean, people call me gay all the time, or whatever you want to say. I'm not a homophobe or nothing, but I'm just telling you right now, I love those things. So I don't really care.
I love them too.
Alcohol. So I mean, like, what are you gonna say?
Yeah, I love them too, and I'm so comfortable with my sexuality that I'll drink them with my pinkies up. I could care what anybody says. So come at me, bro. I'm comfortable. I ain't gay. And I don't have any problem if you are gays. You know, it's just, it is what it is. You know, no issues.
I have no problem. Like I tell everyone, they always laugh at me. They're drinking Bud Light that's 4.2%. They want to talk crap to me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You're getting a better buzz. So there you go. Well, either way, man, always a pleasure chatting with you and having doing this show with you. I hope you do enjoy the fights this weekend. And geez, you know, I think that there is a UFC event every single weekend until Christmas. I heard that the other day. Every single weekend until Christmas.
The UFC is killing it, man. I don't care what anyone says. It's unprecedented ground. I do think that it's going to make a rough go once COVID's done. I don't know exactly if there's enough fights to get all the fighters that they are signing. You know, I mean, they're signing guys like I've never seen get signed and how many backlogs. I don't know if there's going to be major cuts in the UFC or if they're going to run double shows because they're going to get, because you know, it's not like they're in ESPN's very good graces right now. So I don't know if that really turns on a whole nother level of this sport of, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting future for the UFC to see which path they go.
Either way, Rocco, it's just good for us. We have a lot of fights to talk about, and it's not slowing down. So anyways, this is another great show for Rocco Martin. I am Ryan Jarrell. We'll see you guys next week for episode number 14.